Welcome back, adventurers. In this video, I'm going to give you the ultimate 3-day roadmap to Big Sur. Where to hike, where to eat, and exactly when to pull over if you want those photos to look like they belong on the desktop background. From Point Lobos sea lions to Pfeiffer Beach's purple sands, we'll unlock each chapter of your Big Sur quest. As always, if you found we really brought you the value today, please consider supporting us with a like and subscribe. We post links to the description below for all products mentioned and post the very latest in all things hiking and adventuring as we show you where the wild things are. Starting with day 1, here's how we're going to break this down. Day 1 is going to be your call to adventure. Day 2 brings trials and tribulations, and day 3 rewards you with the finale. Along the way, I'll share the real wisdom, park fees, GPS coordinates, vehicle tips, permit details, and the best months to visit so you'll actually be prepared instead of lost on Highway 1. So where should this journey begin? How about Point Lobos and Garrapata? Day 1 of your quest begins at Point Lobos State Natural Reserve, and honestly, this one was my favorite. We went 2 different seasons that you'll see in the video here, and honestly, the winter months were better. You couldn't really see too much because it was very cloudy, but the waves were amazing as they crashed over the rocks, and we got some really great footage that we're happy to share with you. This area is also known as the Northern Gateway to Big Sur. Just 3 miles south of Carmel on Highway 1, just 3 miles south of Carmel Highway number 1, the entrance sits at about 36.5 north and negative 121.9 west. It looks simple enough on a road map, but in reality, you'll circle the small parking lot more than once. The 10-day use fee per vehicle is standard for California state parks, and it's payable at the kiosk. Consider it an investment in one of the most stunning coastlines in the state. What that fee doesn't buy you are the conveniences like cell service or guaranteed space, so patience is part of that ticket price. Point Lobos is famous because it offers all the variety of Big Sur in miniature turquoise coves, rocky bluffs, ancient cypress groves, and otters that really do look like they've been hired to model. Trails range from simple loops to longer links across the reserve, but the Bird Islands Trail is the best way to begin. It's less than a mile round trip, about 0.8 miles, and mostly level coastal walking. It's really not much of a workout, but this loop rewards you with China Cove's emerald water, Bird Island, stacked with seabirds, and the pull-off viewpoints where the sea lions bark from offshore rocks. Plan for about 45 minutes at a minimum, though 90 minutes is realistic if you linger for photos or for wildlife. This is one of those areas where it's really just important to kind of just really take in the moment because you're going to see lots of different things. You're going to see different types of birds coming through. You're going to see different types of animals swimming in the water. This is really great for when you're watching those sea otters playing with each other and getting some really great photos. So really linger here and just enjoy. Sometimes you can even break this up into a couple days depending on your fitness level. And that's also highly recommended just to really enjoy it while you're out here. For another quick walk, Cypress Grove introduces you to the Monterey cypress groves that exist nowhere else on Earth. If you want to stitch together more, there's a popular 7.5-mile loop that combines multiple trails for half-a-day exploration with about 700 feet of elevation gain. But whichever you choose, remember the rules. No dogs, no drones, no camping, and no vehicles over 21 feet inside the reserve. Large groups may need prior reservations through californiareservations.gov, though standard day hiking doesn't require a permit. Come early in the morning if you can, reservations or not, the lots do still fill quickly. Once you've had your fill of sea otters posing for free, drive about 10 to 20 minutes south along Highway 1 to Garrapata State Park. Garrapata doesn't have an entrance station or parking lots. Instead, there's a small numbered turnouts along the highway where you park on the shoulder before crossing down to the trails. No fees, no kiosks, just first come, first serve parking, and the spaces vanish fast on the weekends. Trails here balance the Point Lobos orderliness with something more rugged and raw. The Subrains Point Loop, about 1.6 miles, is the standout. It hugs the coastline, offering sweeps of cliffside views and pounding surf below. Elevation is low and the path is short, but with every turn, the Pacific seems to present another version of itself, depending on how long you pause to take it in. Give yourself about 45 to 90 minutes in spring. The landscape changes. Wildflowers blur the edges of the trail in color. Calla Lily Valley is a highlight if you visit between February and mid-March, when hundreds of lilies bloom in a tucked-away gulch. Reaching them is easy, about 0.25 miles to 0.5 mile walk from the Highway 1, short enough that even if you're winding down the day, it's worth the detour. Garrapata Beach, just across the way, can be the perfect capstone, especially at sunset, but know the surf is notorious and dangerous for swimming. For your final stop before the evening is done is a spot nearly every visitor has on their list, Bixby Creek Bridge. At approximately 36.3 north, 121.9 west, you'll find one of the most photographed landmarks on the west coast. The 1930s concrete arch sweeps across a steep canyon with the Pacific stretching out behind, and it's free to stop and enjoy. Parking is limited though, so use designated turnouts only. Highway 1 traffic is consistent and safety matters as much as the photo does, so make sure you're looking both ways before you cross the street. If you arrive at golden hour, expect a crowd, but the payoff is worth the wait. Sunlight washes over the cliffs, and the bridge itself glows in a way that makes even a quick photo snap look cinematic. That brings the rhythm of your first day to a close. You've eased into Big Sur with simple trails, given your camera its first workout, and stood before the California's icons at sunset. Tomorrow the pace changes, the terrain gets tighter, and the logistics more frustrating, but the beauty somehow is even more dramatic. Day 2. Trials and tribulations along Pfeiffer Beach and Limekiln. Day 2 takes you straight into the heart of Big Sur's challenges, beginning with Pfeiffer Beach. Known for its purple-tinted sand and keyhole arch rock formation, this spot is one of the most iconic along the coast, but also one of the trickiest to access. To get there, you'll need to turn off Highway 1 onto Sycamore Canyon Road at approximately 36.2 north and negative 121.7 west. Save that location on your offline maps before you lose the signal. This narrow 2-mile stretch is the only way in. It's one lane in many spots, carved into brush, with few places to pass, and it's not suitable for RVs or trailers. Near the end, you'll pay a $15 per vehicle day use fee managed by the Los Padres National Forest, though that assumes you make it into the small lot before it fills up. By midday, the parking is usually at capacity. What makes the trouble worthwhile is the beach itself. While the sand isn't neon purple, streaks of violet do show through, especially in winter and spring when the rainfall washes down the manganese and garnet from the cliffs. It's rare, natural, and best seen when the light is soft. Then there's Keyhole Arch, the beach's real centerpiece. During winter sunsets, beams of light pour directly through the rock's opening, creating a natural spotlight that photographers and visitors line up for. Despite the chaos outside, once you're actually on the sand, the space feels quiet and open. If it were a different world from the parking lot line drama you just endured. Here's how to time it. Pfeiffer Beach is the most rewarding in the late afternoon and evening, when the sun angles toward the arch. Arrive too early and you'll spend the day fighting wind and glare, leaving you with little more than a sunburn. Arrive too late and you risk missing the parking and the lighting altogether. The best approach is to plan an early afternoon arrival, leaving yourself time to find a spot. Wander the shoreline for a little while and then settle in for the light show begins. When you've had your fill of purple sand and sunset silhouettes, continue south about 40 minutes on Highway 1 to reach Limekiln State Park. The change in atmosphere is almost immediate. Here, trails cut through cool redwood groves and along small creeks, offering shade and damp freshness you won't find on the beaches. The highlight is the Limekiln Fall Trails is approximately a 1.4-mile round trip with about 200 feet of elevation. It doesn't demand much time. An hour is plenty, but it does keep you on your toes with a few stream crossings and slippery patches underfoot. At the end, you'll stand before 100-foot cascading waterfalls down a mossy rock wall. Along the way, you'll pass the remains of giant limekilns from the late 1800s, relics of an industry that once stripped Big Sur's limestone and used its trees for fuel. You're walking through history and wilderness layered together in one short hike. Nearby, another side path tempts you off course, the trail to Partington Cove. Small in scale, but steep in personality, this 1-mile round trip drops you sharply downhill, passing through a narrow rock tunnel that delivers you rugged cove where aqua waves crash against hard cliffs. Tide pools scatter the rocks in low tide, filled with anemones and crabs, but the climb back will remind you that the return is no less demanding than the way down. While it doesn't have a sandy beach, its glimpse of Big Sur's harsher, more intimate side, far less polished than Pfeiffer or Limekiln. Even just driving this stretch between Pfeiffer Beach and Limekiln is part of the story. On a good day, the 40 minutes melt into a panoramic ocean views and cliffside drama. On bad days, landslides can shut down the road and detour you miles inland with no cell service to guide you. Build in extra time, not because you plan to waste it, but because Big Sur often decides for you. As you wander, keep an eye out on the oceans as well as the trails. Whale sightings are seasonal. Gray whales pass between December and April, while humpbacks and even blues show up later in the summer and fall. On land, the hazards are less awe-inspiring, but no less important to note. Poison oak thrives near trail edges, and ticks are common in grassy and wooded stretches. Long pants, layered clothes, and a proper tick check when you're back at your car go a long way towards keeping the day enjoyable. By the time the sun drops, you've left Limekiln and Partington behind. By the time the sun drops and you've left Limekiln and Partington behind, you'll notice the rhythm of the day. Short, memorable hikes, high effort for limited parking, and fees sprinkled across every step. You may grumble at paying $15 here and $10 there, but the return is undeniable. It's not easy and it's not cheap, but it's why the journey matters. And this sets the stage for the final act. After enduring the hassles and tests woven into Big Sur's middle stretch, your next day turns into the payoff. The chance to shift from obstacles to discoveries that feel like rewards. Day 3, the reward of Point Sur and Pfeiffer Big Sur State Park. Day 3 takes you onto Big Sur's quieter strengths, history, redwoods, and gathering places, starting from Point Sur Lighthouse, rising almost 400 feet out of the Pacific on a volcanic rock. It's impossible to miss when driving through Highway 1. The official coordinates sit around 36.3 north and negative 121.9 west, but you won't just roll up on for a quick photo. Visits are only possible through guided tours, typically held on limited days, often weekends, and capped at about 40 visitors per group. Each tour lasts to close to about 3 hours, costs roughly about $15 per person, and can sell out fairly quickly. It's smart to check the Point Sur website for current schedules before you plan. Getting to the top is part of the experience, and expect a steady uphill walk from the parking area. Make sure you bring layers. The ocean winds here are no joke, but the reward is worth every step. Panoramic coastal views, the chance to step inside a working lighthouse, and glimpse into the maritime history that shaped California's coastline. Unlike the crowded overlooks you've seen thus far, this is a stop where patience buys you intimacy with the landscape and its past. When you're ready to trade sweeping ocean views for forest shade, head inland to Pfeiffer Big Sur State Park. This is the redwood country, and most popular trail here is Pfeiffer Falls. Recently restored, the path is about 1.5 miles round trip with a moderate climb of 450 to 500 feet. Plan for 60 to 90 minutes, depending on how long you pause beneath the redwood canopy. The falls themselves aren't enormous, but the forest setting adds a quiet impact that coastal vistas can't provide. If you still have energy, connect with the Valley View Trail to reach a lookout over Big Sur's River Gorge. Here's something practical that travelers often miss. Your day use parking fee paid at Pfeiffer Big Sur is usually valid at another California state park that same day. That $10 covers you across multiple stops managed by these state parks, though not sites managed by the Forest Service like Pfeiffer Beach. It's a small detail, but one that saves you from unnecessary repeated payments if you're stopping at multiple parks. Culture rounds out your final day, and one of the best stops is the Henry Miller Memorial Library. Nestled right in the redwoods, it's a small arts and community space with books, sculptures, murals, and occasional or literary events. Even without a performance, the setting feels like a pocket of calm where you can grab a coffee, leaf through a book, and sit under a tree. After 2 days of trail dust, it offers a different kind of pause. Still outdoors, but with a touch of creativity instead of adrenaline. Food choices in Big Sur remain limited, but memorable. Nepenthe and Cafe Kebab perch high on the cliffs. They're wide open terraces giving you views that no takeout meal can. But the prices feel steep for simple dishes. In this context, you're paying for location as much as food. A short drive north, Big Sur Bakery balances things with wood-fired pizzas, pastries, and coffee with a welcome shift after days of trail snacks. Pfeiffer's Big Sur to Nepenthe is only about a 20-mile drive on Highway 1, though the narrow road and packed parking lots means it can stretch longer. Cell service is still unreliable here, so downloading offline maps before leaving your hotel or lodge isn't optional. It's required if you want to avoid doubling back. Your route home takes you north through Carmel. One optional stop adds another layer of contrast, and that's the more widely known as Carmel Mission Basilica. This was founded in the 1700s and remains one of the most significant historical sites on California's coast. The grounds and church have a quiet elegance that balances the wilderness of Big Sur with a reminder of the region's Spanish colonial roots. It's less busy than the cliffs or beaches and offers a final chance to connect with the area's cultural history. By the end of this third day, you've stood on a lighthouse with the Pacific stretching endlessly at your feet, traced redwood paths to hidden waterfalls, and lingered in creative outposts of art and community, and eaten meals that feel inseparable from views around them. This last day ties the threads together. Land, history, and culture align to show a deeper side of Big Sur. But for all that reward, the reality is getting here between here and out of here is never seamless. The next challenge isn't about cliffs or trails, but about the logistics that make the difference between a smooth journey and a stalled one. For us, we traveled basically from San Diego all the way up north through to Lake Tahoe, then over to the Redwoods, and then basically down Highway 1. But it's very important that you make sure that the Highway 1 is not closed, because you will have to have a detour that we had to experience along the way. Starting with what we talked about, Highway 1. This is a 2-lane road, the most scenic road in all the US in my opinion, that hugs the cliffs and provides the only continuous northern and southern access through Big Sur. When it works, it's one of the most scenic drives in the world. When it fails, everything stops. Rock slides or mudslides and even wildfire damage can force closures with no coastal detour to get around them. If Highway 1 is blocked, you either turn back or take a massive inland detour that can add hours to your journey. The best way to avoid surprise dead ends is to check the official Caltrans website for current conditions before you set out. And keep an eye on updates while you're on the road. This one habit can spare you a wasted drive. Getting here also takes planning if you're not a California native. Big Sur is close to several airports. The closest regional airport is Monterey, MRY. Only about an hour from the northern entrance, but flights can be pricey and limited. San Jose International is the next best option, about 2 to 2.5 hours by car. San Francisco International is the largest hub with more flight options, but you'll face a 2.5 to 3 hour drive in good traffic. If you're not from California, understand we have a lot of traffic. We have a lot of roads and a lot of cars. Plan on spending significant time in the car regardless of where you land. Once you're on Highway 1, forget public transportation. There are no buses linking trailheads to hop-on shuttles or running through the coast. Exploration here requires a personal vehicle. Most visitors rent a car, and basic sedans work just fine on Highway 1 themselves. The road is paved, narrow, and winding, but you don't need a heavy-duty vehicle clearance. Where something more than a sedan helps is on the side roads like Old Coast Road or the dirt spurs that branch off from the highway. If you want to explore those, consider an all-wheel drive vehicle, but for main stops and state parks, a compact car is enough. Keep in mind that some of the state reserves, including Point Lobos, prohibit vehicles longer than 21 feet, so large RVs or trailers are a liability on those drives. Navigation is another reality check because cell service is nearly non-existent after you leave Carmel and won't reliably return until you're out of Big Sur. We personally didn't have too much issue with service, but depending on who you have for your plan and depending on the weather conditions, your signal can be impacted. So it is always important, anytime that you're traveling, make sure you download offline maps, especially if you're not going to be near metropolitan areas. Trail signs and coastal turnouts are often small and easy to miss, especially if you're inching through traffic. Offline maps and pre-pinned spots will save you gas, time, and the stress. Not all kiosks take credit or debit cards, so carry cash and small bills. Sometimes you'll find self-registration boxes where you can slip cash into an envelope. They do not take any change and you will not get a receipt. Add these numbers and your daily budget instead of being surprised. For safety, it helps to think practically rather than fear the worst. The biggest risks are poison oak, and along many trails there are ticks in the grass and in the redwood groves. The cliff edges without guardrails at viewpoints, surf that can sweep you off of the beaches. And surf here is cold and deceptively strong. There are plenty of rip currents along the coast if you decide to enjoy the water. It is very cold water though. Make sure you're not swimming out too far where a rip current will take you. So most beach areas are for walking, photographing, or sitting, but rarely for swimming. These are manageable hazards if you know what to expect. Let's talk about where to rest, refuel, and to repeat. After a long day on the road and trails, where you want to stay and where you can eat can make or break your Big Sur experience. We personally stayed in Carmel Valley. After long days on the road and trail, where you stay and what you eat can make or break your Big Sur experience. We personally stayed in Carmel, but the rest, the refuel, repeat is just a catchy phrase. It's the reality of keeping your trip sustainable across 3 days of hiking, diving, driving, and navigating. The options are varied, from campgrounds with hot showers to cliffside suites that cost more than your flight did. Carmel and Monterey, just north of Big Sur, are the most practical choices if you want easier logistics. Carmel offers charming boutiques, inns, smaller motels that hit the budget to the mid-range mark, while Monterey leans towards the chain hotels and family-friendly setups with perks like included breakfast and easier parking. Food here is pretty expensive, so generally speaking, it's better if you can find a place that does have breakfast included to at least knock down some of the costs from your everyday, especially if you're traveling with a family. Both towns give you grocery stores, gas, and lower prices than Big Sur itself, and there's only about 40 to 60 minutes from the northern trailheads like Point Lobos. If you value convenience and are trying to save money, Basing yourself here gives you the flexibility without completely removing you from the coast. Inside Big Sur, the options is narrow, but you get more immersive. Big Sur Lodge, located in Pfeiffer Beach State Park, provides straightforward rustic cabins set alongside redwoods with trails right outside your door. Glen Oaks sits in the mid-range, offering modern cabins with stylish finishes, perfect if you want quick trail access but aren't ready to give up the comfort just yet. For families and groups, Big Sur Campground and Cabins blends the tent sites and small cabins with amenities like hot showers, laundry, and even river running through the property. All these give you an in the thick of it experience without stepping into 5-star territory. And then there's the high end. Post Ranch Inn in Big Sur's most famous property with dramatic cliffside treehouse suites and ocean views that appear in every glossy travel magazine. Ventana offers luxurious escape with spa-grade services, private decks, and sweeping panoramic views. For something unique but less traditional, Treebone's Resorts Yurts sits above the ocean, blending glamping with comfort, real beds, private decks, and a balance of rustic and refined. These are not cheap options, but they are destinations people picture when they imagine Big Sur luxury. Camping remains a classic here, but availability is a serious issue. Pfeiffer Big Sur State Beach Park campgrounds have showers, which makes them especially popular, and Big Sur campgrounds and cabins are well known with solid amenities. Treebone's Yurts fall in the category 2, though they are at the luxury end of the camping spectrum. No matter where you pitch a tent or book a yurt, summer weekends and peak seasons fill up months in advance. This is not an area where you can roll in on a Friday evening and expect a space. Book early and know that cancellations are rare. Food is a similar story. Limited, popular, and pricey. Nepenthe is the signature stop, perched high above Highway 1, with views you'll remember for years. And Cafe Cava, same. Just below it, serves lighter fare with coffee and the same type of panorama. Both are heavily visited, so expect long waits in peak hours, and check hours online before you go, since opening times can change. Reservations for Nepenthe are recommended when possible. Dining beyond Big Sur can work to your advantage as well. Carmel's food scene is bigger and more varied, from upscale restaurants to wine bars and casual cafes, with the added bonus of a fewer crowds and a handful of coastal locations. One of the favorite places we went to was actually a candy factory, and you're going to love the town. The way that they design these homes and areas were designed reflect way back to its old days and its old roots. Many to this day are still protected under a historic status. It's worth a short drive north if variety and reliability are bigger priorities than the view. A few realities tie this all together. If you have some time, it's important to stop by Carmel by the Sea. Its unique fairy tale-like cottages offering charming stays in places like Carmel Retreats and the Carmel Cottage Inn, known for the historic details like clawfoot tubs and fireplaces nestled in walkable, picturesque town near beautiful beaches. There are several different maps that you can get that show you an outlaying of where all these different cottages are. It's beautiful, the experience to walk in Carmel by the Sea, enjoy different coffees, enjoy some baked goods, walk some of the cottages, and really get to take in the architecture. But Big Sur isn't something measured in miles or parking stubs. It's found in those quick moments like standing beneath the redwoods or watching daylight sink beneath the headlands. That blend of quiet and raw scenery leaves more than a view. It leaves perspective. Here's a pro tip for you. Remember the essentials. The best months are April through October, with September and October offering the most reliable weather and fewer crowds, as well as bigger waves. If you go during the summertime, you'll see more picturesque views, but you're not going to see a lot of that dramatic water meeting land activity. Carry cash, about $10, $15 for day use fees. Plan to download offline maps before you go, and expect limited service once you're in. If this breakdown helped you, hit the like or subscribe button and comment with what you're planning for your trip, or what day excites you the most. If you love this video and want to see more, give us a like and subscribe so you can always stay up to date on the very best of hiking. Whether it's the gear, the destination, or my beautiful voice, that's what we love and want to share with you, our viewers. So go grab your boots, fill your water bottle, and go chase those waterfalls. It's adventure time.